Hello, beautiful Taurus soul. I want to speak to you honestly from the very beginning, because something meaningful is already starting to move in your financial world between May 18th and 19th, 2026. This is not distant energy meant for some future version of you after years of proving yourself worthy. This moment is unfolding now, and in many ways you have been quietly preparing for it far longer than you realize. If this video found its way to you, trust that it was not random. Something deep inside you has been trying to get your attention through small but persistent signs. Maybe it came through repeating numbers, a strange sense of knowing, or a feeling in your body that something was slowly beginning to shift beneath the surface. However you arrived here, that pull matters, and it deserves to be honored. This message is more than a simple horoscope or prediction. It's a space where timing, intuition, and your own readiness begin meeting each other in a very real way. Taurus, your energy has always carried a quiet strength, the kind that builds slowly like roots deep beneath fertile ground. But now life is asking you to stop preparing endlessly and begin allowing yourself to receive. The energy surrounding May 18th and 19th carries the feeling of something planted long ago finally beginning to respond. Receiving abundance is not passive, and it is not luck. It asks for trust, emotional openness, and the willingness to believe that stability and prosperity can arrive without struggle, constantly standing at the door first. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore why this window feels so important, and why the movement happening around Venus and other cosmic shifts is creating opportunities that many people overlook completely. We'll also move through the messages appearing so strongly for you right now around renewal, financial growth, and the beginning of a more secure foundation taking shape in your life. And yes, we'll talk about how to prepare your thoughts, your energy, and even your physical environment so you're truly available when this blessing begins to land. But before we go further, I want to genuinely thank you for being here, because your presence in this moment matters more than you know. Every like, every comment, and every subscription helps strengthen this space and allows these messages to reach the people who may need them most. So if this message is already stirring something inside you, take a moment and share the number or sign that has been appearing around you lately. Maybe you've been seeing 2, 25, 888, or something completely different. Leave it in the comments, because when people witness these patterns together, the energy behind them seems to grow stronger. Taurus, you are not standing on the sidelines of this transformation. You are helping shape it through your willingness to finally loosen your grip on old fears and open yourself to something steadier and more abundant. The universe is responding to the quiet part of you that is finally ready to believe life can become softer, fuller, and more secure. And if you stay with me through the rest of this message, you'll begin to understand not only what is unfolding around you, but how to fully step into it. There's a quiet wisdom hidden inside timing, a kind of natural rhythm we rarely notice until everything begins lining up with almost uncanny precision. Around May 18th and 19th, Taurus, the energy surrounding you doesn't simply arrive all at once. It feels more like soil warming beneath the surface after a long season of waiting, as though something carefully planted has finally started responding to the light. This moment carries far more than ordinary astrology. It reflects back a version of you that has been slowly becoming ready to hold greater stability, deeper self-worth, and lasting abundance. As Venus moves into a powerful connection with Pluto during this period, something buried beneath old survival habits begins to loosen. Venus is not only tied to beauty and comfort, but to value itself, especially the way you measure your own worth and capacity to receive. Pluto brings transformation through truth, uncovering what has been hidden beneath fear, hesitation, or old limitations. Together, these energies ask you to consider what part of yourself still doubts that a more secure and prosperous life truly belongs to you. This alignment carries a grounded kind of healing. It invites you to release the quiet belief that wealth, peace, or stability are meant for other people, while you remain stuck proving yourself over and over again. You've spent time preparing, waiting, and trying to hold everything together. But now the energy begins urging you forward instead of keeping you paused in uncertainty. Something inside you is learning that abundance does not require shrinking yourself to fit old conditions that no longer reflect who you are becoming. As this shift settles in, the energy around communication grows stronger, bringing attention to messages, conversations, and opportunities that may contain clues connected to your next financial step. Sometimes this arrives through a resurfaced contact, an unexpected email, or a conversation you almost dismissed because it seemed too ordinary at first glance. These moments may look small on the surface, but they carry the feeling of doors quietly unlocking. The more present you become, the easier it is to recognize that life has been trying to place something valuable back into your hands. Taurus energy naturally seeks certainty, which is why your first instinct may be to analyze every detail before trusting what you feel. But during this phase, your greatest guidance may come less from logic and more from attention itself. The moment you stop treating repeated signs like background noise and start noticing them with intention, the atmosphere around you begins shifting. What once felt delayed can suddenly begin moving with surprising steadiness. One of the strongest influences surrounding this period is the rare meeting between Jupiter and Lilith in Taurus. Jupiter expands whatever it touches, bringing growth, opportunity, and momentum, while Lilith speaks to the untamed part of you that no longer wants to live from fear or scarcity. In Taurus, this combination feels deeply connected to material value, personal security, and gifts that may have been sitting quietly within reach the entire time. A forgotten opportunity, unresolved financial matter, or path you once walked away from could begin returning in a completely different light. The energy here is not asking you to chase money endlessly or force outcomes before they are ready. It's asking you to recognize what has already been forming beneath the surface, waiting for your willingness to meet it halfway. You may feel emotionally overwhelmed at moments, and that response is natural, because real change often enters quietly instead of dramatically. Sometimes blessings arrive like a soft knock at a familiar door, rather than a storm announcing itself from far away. This is where everyday life becomes meaningful. The way you answer a phone call, respond to an invitation, or finally allow yourself to say yes without demanding endless proof first begins shaping the direction of what unfolds next. The energy now is less about striving and more about receiving with steadiness and trust. Even small choices made from peace rather than fear can become the exact pathway through which opportunity reaches you. If you find yourself wondering why all of this is happening now, remember that timing does not always explain itself immediately. It simply asks you to participate. Sometimes the smallest actions carry the greatest turning points, and what seems ordinary on the surface can hold the weight of something life-changing underneath. Pay attention to what repeats itself around you, because these patterns are trying to lead your awareness somewhere important. Miracles rarely arrive in ways that look dramatic from the outside. More often, they appear through familiar moments that suddenly carry a different feeling in your chest. And Taurus, this period holds exactly that kind of energy. What seems like coincidence may actually be a carefully unfolding pattern, guiding you towards something much larger than you first realized. When the Ten of Pentacles, Judgment, and the Ace of Pentacles appear together during a moment like this, the message becomes impossible to ignore. These cards do more than point toward financial growth. Together, they reveal a deeper story about legacy, awakening, and the seed of something tangible that is finally ready to take root in your life. This is not only about money itself, but about recognizing the responsibility, inheritance, and opportunity quietly woven into the path now opening before you. The Ten of Pentacles arrives first, carrying energy that reaches far beyond money alone. It speaks of legacy, stability, and the quiet inheritance passed from one generation to the next, sometimes through stories, habits, sacrifices, or dreams that were never fully completed. This card asks you to think not only about what you hope to receive, but also about what you are truly ready to hold and continue building. Is there a gift, a lesson, or even an opportunity that has been waiting in your family line for someone finally prepared to nurture it into something real? For many Taurus souls, this moment is less about sudden fortune and more about awakening something that has been dormant for a very long time. The desire for security, comfort, and abundance often runs deeper than personal ambition alone. Sometimes it lives quietly inside your instincts, your memories, or the silent hopes carried by the people who came before you. This card reminds you that wealth is not only currency, it is a pattern of living, and you may be the one being asked to reshape that pattern into something steadier and more fulfilling. Then comes Judgment, the card that asks for honesty and courage in equal measure. It does not arrive to criticize you or expose failure. Instead, it feels more like a steady hand reaching toward the part of you that already knows it is time to rise into something larger. When this card appears, it often points to a period where you've been standing near an important decision for a long time, sensing its importance, but hesitating to move fully toward it. Maybe you kept waiting for a clearer sign, a stronger guarantee, or a version of yourself that felt more certain and prepared. But judgment rarely enters through loud demands. It moves quietly, through instincts, repeated thoughts, and the kind of inner knowing that keeps returning no matter how many times you try to postpone it. In this moment, the question becomes simple but deeply important. What opportunity, idea, or path have you continued delaying because it felt too unfamiliar, too significant, or too life-changing to trust completely? This card reminds you that readiness is often created through action, not discovered beforehand. And then the Ace of Pentacles appears, not as fantasy or wishful thinking, but as something tangible beginning to take shape in the physical world. This card represents the seed itself, the first visible sign that something stable and meaningful is ready to grow. It may arrive through a business opportunity, unexpected financial support, a new client, or an offer you were not actively searching for, but somehow needed at exactly the right moment. At first, it may not appear overwhelming or dramatic. In fact, the opportunity could seem surprisingly simple when it first arrives. But when nurtured with patience, intention, and consistency, it carries the ability to grow into something much larger than your current perspective can fully imagine. That is the quiet strength hidden inside aligned timing, especially for Taurus energy, which understands that the most lasting growth usually begins beneath the surface, long before anyone else can see it. Over the years, I've noticed that the people who receive the most meaningful opportunities are not always the loudest or most forceful. More often, they are the ones willing to notice the small moments that others overlook, the subtle openings that carry the feeling of something quietly important. I've heard stories where a single, gentle decision changed everything for someone, whether it was sending a message, applying for support they doubted they would receive, or finally saying yes to an opportunity they almost ignored. If this message is resonating with you, understand that this is not about proving your worth through exhaustion or struggle. Your worth already exists. What matters now is your willingness to position yourself emotionally, spiritually, and practically to receive what may have been circling your life for much longer than you realize. These cards are not simply pointing toward possibility. They describe a deeper agreement between who you are becoming and the life slowly opening in front of you. So don't just prepare your finances, prepare your mindset, your schedule, your openness, and your willingness to receive without fear. Opportunities rarely settle where there is no room for them to land, and what is beginning to emerge now carries the potential to reshape far more than your bank account alone. Not every form of preparation looks active from the outside either. Sometimes it begins quietly through the way you speak to yourself, the choices you make each morning, or the subtle shifts in thought you are finally ready to notice more clearly. For Taurus, whose energy naturally seeks comfort, steadiness, and inner security, this period of preparation is not about pushing harder or trying to prove your worth through constant effort. It's about becoming more aligned with the life you say you're ready to receive. The opportunities moving toward you do not need to be chased endlessly. They ask for presence, openness, and the ability to recognize when something meaningful is already drawing near. Even the colors you feel pulled toward right now may carry more meaning than you realize. Rose gold holds a soft warmth that supports receptivity and reminds the heart that receiving can feel safe, especially for those who are used to giving more than they accept. Ivory white brings a sense of calm, clarity, and spaciousness, almost like opening the windows of a quiet home and letting fresh air move through every corner. Deep sapphire carries a grounded kind of confidence, not loud or performative, but the steady self-assurance of someone who no longer doubts their value. Wearing these colors is not about appearances. It becomes a subtle signal to your own subconscious that you are emotionally prepared for greater stability, comfort, and abundance to enter your life. It's a quiet way of saying, I'm no longer resisting what is trying to reach me. Sometimes the smallest shifts in energy begin with choices that seem ordinary on the surface, but slowly reshape how you carry yourself through the world. Then there are the numbers that keep appearing when you least expect them. Maybe you've noticed 2, 25, or 888 showing up on clocks, receipts, phone numbers, or passing signs. These moments are easy to dismiss, yet repeated patterns often arrive when life is trying to pull your attention towards something important. The number 2 speaks to connection and partnership, reminding you that growth and abundance often flow through shared trust and mutual support. The number 25 carries a more grounded and mature energy. It tends to appear during periods when you are approaching an important decision involving long-term security, finances, or the kind of future you truly want to build for yourself. And then there is 888, the number that often arrives with the feeling that something meaningful is circling back around. It carries the energy of return, expansion, and opportunities beginning to reopen after a long season of delay. But these signs only become meaningful when you are present enough to notice them. Preparation is not passive waiting. It is the process of clearing emotional and physical space for something new to finally settle into your life. Sometimes that means walking away from habits, environments, or beliefs that no longer reflect your value, so that when the right opportunity arrives, there is room for it to remain. This also means beginning to think differently about yourself and your future. Not through fantasy or empty manifestation language, but through grounded responsibility and self-respect. You organize your finances, you revisit goals you stopped believing in, you speak about your dreams without shrinking them down to make other people comfortable. These may seem like small actions, but they send a powerful message to your mind and spirit that you are ready to live differently. I've seen people completely change their relationship with money and opportunity, not because they exhausted themselves working harder, but because they stopped living as though they needed permission to thrive. They made subtle but consistent choices that matched the life they hoped to build. And over time, those choices began shifting everything around them in ways that felt almost impossible to explain logically. I once guided someone who started every morning with a single quiet affirmation instead of a long list of worries and responsibilities. Each day, she simply whispered, "I receive what is already meant for me." Within weeks, A delayed payment unexpectedly arrived after months of silence. The shift did not happen because she forced life to respond. It happened because her mindset, emotional energy, and willingness to receive finally moved into alignment together. So pay attention not only to what you are doing, but also to the emotional tone you are carrying each day. Notice the colors that calm you, the numbers that continue repeating, and the decisions you keep postponing because part of you already knows they may change everything. These signs are already trying to speak to you, and when you begin listening with patience and intention, you stop becoming someone who constantly struggles for more and start becoming someone who naturally attracts the right timing, grounded prosperity, and opportunities that truly fit your life. The most life-changing moments rarely arrive with chaos or dramatic announcements. More often, they begin quietly, through a sincere thought, a small shift in perspective, or a simple sentence spoken with honesty. That is the real purpose behind what many people call the wealth gate. It is not about forcing miracles into existence. It is about becoming emotionally available for the abundance that has already been trying to find its way toward you. When you write something by hand, especially a phrase like, "I open myself to receive wealth with grace and wisdom," the experience becomes deeper than simple words on paper. The movement of writing slows the body, steadies the mind, and creates a quiet connection between thought, emotion, and intention. That is why physically writing the affirmation matters so much. It is not only repetition, it becomes a way of grounding a new belief into your body, your nervous system, and the way you move through daily life. There is something deeply personal about watching your own handwriting form each word slowly across the page. Your breath changes without you noticing. Your shoulders soften. The mind that has been racing through worries and unfinished thoughts finally begins to settle into the present moment. Even the sound of the pen moving across paper can feel calming, almost like a signal to your body that it no longer needs to stay in survival mode every second of the day. Placing that handwritten note inside a trusted space carries meaning as well. Maybe it's a small wooden box, an envelope tucked carefully into a drawer, or even the wallet you carry every day. Symbols matter because they give the subconscious something tangible to connect with. In a quiet way, you are telling yourself and the universe that what you are asking for already has space prepared for it. Sometimes the object itself begins carrying emotional weight over time. You glance at the envelope before leaving the house, or your fingers brush against the folded paper while reaching into your bag. And each small moment becomes a reminder that your intention is still alive. These tiny rituals may appear simple from the outside, yet they slowly teach the nervous system what safety, openness, and expectation can feel like together. That emotional shift is often where true receiving begins. That is the heart of manifestation. It is not begging life for something missing. It is preparing yourself to receive what may already be moving toward you. Over the years, I've seen people experience profound changes through very small acts of emotional and spiritual readiness, often when they least expected anything to happen at all. I once worked with a woman who doubted every kind of ritual or affirmation practice. Still, she wrote her intention on a small piece of paper and slipped it into the side pocket of her bag without thinking much about it afterward. 2 days later, she heard from a former employer about a contract opportunity she believed had disappeared months earlier. She did not force the situation or chase after it repeatedly. She simply created space for something to return. This is where action begins, strengthening the energy behind your intention. When a ritual is followed by movement, even something small, you stop communicating hesitation and begin communicating readiness. Maybe you finally send the email you have rewritten over and over again but never shared. Maybe you sign up for the class or opportunity that excites you while also making you nervous. Maybe you reconnect with someone whose presence once opened important doors in your life before fear or pride created distance. None of these actions require perfect confidence. They simply ask you to move differently, like someone who trusts that what they have been hoping for is already beginning to unfold. I often remind people that opportunities rarely open because someone became flawless first. More often, they appear when someone becomes willing to step forward before every answer feels certain. That willingness does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes it asks you to act before the signs fully make sense, or before the outcome feels guaranteed. But many of the breakthroughs people speak about later in life, unexpected opportunities, financial relief, homes, jobs, and second chances, did not arrive because someone controlled every detail perfectly. They arrived because someone quietly prepared themselves and responded with courage when the moment finally appeared. So during the days surrounding May 18th and 19th, place your hand over your heart each morning and repeat those words slowly. I open myself to receive wealth with grace and wisdom. Speak them like a declaration rather than a distant wish. Let your voice carry the steadiness of someone who no longer needs endless proof before allowing themselves to believe something good can arrive. And let the small choices you make afterward become part of that same energy. Every thoughtful action, every moment of openness, every decision rooted in trust becomes a way of meeting the future already trying to form around you. You do not need dramatic gestures to open the door to abundance. Sometimes the only thing required is the realization that the door may never have been locked in the first place. There is also an important truth about manifestation that many people overlook. Receiving is not only emotional or spiritual, it is physical too. Your body is part of this process because it is the place where stress, safety, trust, and openness are all experienced in real time. And as this energetic window around May 18th and 19th unfolds, your body is not simply observing what happens next. It becomes an active part of how stability, opportunity, and abundance are finally allowed to settle into your life.